Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff review of 3 new candles from Bath & Body Works. If you're watching this video, you likely know that it is mid-June, if you're watching this in June, and the Bath & Body Works semi-annual sale is in full swing. They typically release a couple of collections that are sort of semi-annual sale specific or exclusive to semi-annual sale. One of the collections is called the Bath & Body Works Blends collection, which is really, it was very intriguing to me in the sense that essentially it is a collection of 5 candles. So it's not huge, just 5 candles, and they are blends of existing Bath & Body Works scents. So they're really being smart in the sense that, you know, they're taking some of their most popular fragrances, doing just a blend, a mashup of them, and doubling down on those sales because, you know, if someone loves strawberry pound cake, but they already have strawberry pound cake candles. How do you drive them to buy another one? You throw some Market Peach in there and call it a blend and sell it. It's not just marketing in the sense that it really, truly is kind of a blend, I think, and many times, actually, what I'm seeing here, a cohesive blend of 2 fragrances. So the mind can go wild and, you know, what they could do for this. I'd love to see them do this more frequently, actually, based on the 5 that they released. I think was a good start. But it's interesting because, you know, all of us, you know, true fragrance fans, pretty uncommon that we're just burning 1 candle at a time. We're usually burning a couple. We're layering them from different brands or from, you know, your favorite brand together. So I think it's a fun collection to try out. And so there are 5 fragrances in the collection. I purchased 3 of those. And then there are 2 that I just was not interested in. So I'll tell you briefly about those 2. The first one is Champagne Toast and Fresh Orange. Champagne Toast, I liked this candle when it first launched. Gosh, 8 years ago, something like that, when it was more just a like New Year's collection holiday scent. It's now part of their core line. It's out all the time, which makes sense. Champagne's not limited to the holidays, but it's okay for me. It's very fruity. It doesn't really have enough of notes that I'd like to see in a true champagne candle. It's just kind of a fruity beverage. And the Fresh Orange, I'm not a big fan of that candle. I barely remember. I know that it's been out, might be out now, but if I've sniffed it from the White Barn Core collection, also not the best orange I've ever smelled. So in that sense, that blend, I smelled it, it wasn't anything super exciting. That was a pass for me. And the other one that I took a pass on was the Market Peach and Strawberry Pound Cake. Not a big fan of the Strawberry Pound Cake candle. I've never purchased that. I know that that's, you know, obviously based on how they're promoting it and they're putting it in every product that they have. It's a very popular candle. No judgment if someone loves it and it's their favorite. It's just not one that I enjoy. And the Market Peach, again, that's an old school scent, but peach scents for me are also kind of hit or miss. They're just oftentimes lean too artificial or too sort of peach ring scent, gummy candy, and just not what I'm looking for. So that was also a pass for me. When I sniffed that, it was fine, but nothing that really intrigued me. The 3 that I did purchase though, I haven't burned them yet, so this is a, you know, sort of an old school Touch the Fire Twice review in the sense that it's just my kind of first impressions. All I have to say, digging into these 3 scents. So the first one that I purchased here is the Rosewater and Ivy and Mahogany Teakwood. One thing I'll say is some of these have these lids that are just this kind of textured, I don't even know what I would call it. It almost seems like a kelp or kind of like algae or like a sea kind of oceanic lid. Not sure where they came from because in my store, 4 of the 5 blends had this lid, and then all of one of the other scents just had traditional chrome lids. So I don't know what that is about. But it just says here it's kind of your sort of gradient background, very straightforward. So the notes on Rosewater Ivy and Mahogany Teakwood are rich mahogany, black teakwood, soft rose petals, and rain-kissed English ivy. Now, I will call out, of course, they're only listing a handful of notes, and there are more than that on just these 2 candles. So I will also just say for the sniff that the full list of notes on those 2 candles separately are soft rose petals, rain-kissed English ivy, lemon blossom, soft spring musk for Rosewater and Ivy, and Mahogany Teakwood, rich mahogany, black teakwood, dark oak, and frosted lavender. So that's not to say that they removed those notes. It's just they weren't going to list, you know, 8 notes on the bottom of their candle. Though back in the day, they used to have more than they do now. I really enjoy, I will say, well, let me start from the jump. Mahogany Teakwood, I'm not the biggest fan of that. It's very overdone. It's Abercrombie and Fitch Fierce Cologne, you know, very like early aughts kind of scent for me, but it works. There's a time and place for it, and a lot of people do love it, so it totally makes sense to go in here. I really like the idea that they're mixing that really heavy, woody, sort of with a bit of that sort of floral mixed in there with a lavender scent with just a true floral, a green floral with the ivy in the rose petals. Now, what's interesting in this, it's not just, you know, throw in the exact same fragrance oils 50-50. I do believe they are very much the same scents, but I think they really balanced them and figured out, okay, what makes sense from which one as far as like the intensity of each, kind of like the dials on each note within them. And I would say you really get like, it's really just building a more complex fragrance because you get sort of that rosewater on the top notes with a bit of that ivy. And then your mahogany becomes more of those base notes. So the teakwood, the oak, the lavender kind of sits somewhere in the middle there. Actually, I'm curious lit if it will lean one direction or the other, but on this cold, it just has that rose, but it deepens the rose water from, just that kind of softer, brighter, greener, fresher rose. It really like darkens it with that mahogany and the leather in there. And again, a little bit of that oak. And they say frosted lavender. Lavender is lavender when it comes to Bath & Body Works, I think, but it's not very present in here, though I think it does play with the rose a little bit, which is interesting to have a couple of florals in here with the woods. A woody floral, right up my alley in general. I think that's always a beautiful mix, especially for even body fragrance. So it's very nice. It kind of takes, it makes me like Mahogany Teakwood more. I'm always cool with Rosewater and Ivy, but this is a more complex, mature version of Rosewater and Ivy almost. And I enjoy it, I dig it. I think it's really a nicely executed blend. I think it'll be pretty popular as well. Next, we'll go to this one I was kind of excited about, and it's your gourmand world: cinnamon spice vanilla and Paris Café. The notes on the bottom of this one: rich roasted coffee, vanilla creme, ground cinnamon, sugar crystals. The notes on these two candles, separately from that, typically are going to be fresh ground cinnamon, sugar crystals, Tahitian vanilla bean, plus rich roasted coffee, sugared brioche, and vanilla creme. Now, I will say with this one, so cinnamon spice vanilla essentially is the cinnamon sugar donut that launched in 2011 under Slacken & Co. Some people might argue that there's less of a donut note. I think it's maybe evolved over the years a little bit just because, the fragrances that were launched by Slacken & Co. during the Bath & Body Works partnership that have stuck around through the years, the formulas have been tweaked a little bit, have changed, mostly I think based on materials and the formulations that they've used to make their candles, less about actively trying to change the scent notes or the execution of the scents. And so cinnamon spice vanilla pretty much still is that cinnamon sugar donut scent that I think we all loved when it first launched, when it came back, many times over the years. Paris Café, I've never really enjoyed. It's one of those scents that is, if you get it shipped to you, you're gonna smell it on your front porch in the box because it's so strong. No, I don't mind like a scent that, throws all throughout the house. Like that can be a good thing depending on some variables or what you're looking for. But for me, Paris Café, there was just something that, I don't wanna say artificial, but certainly it has that sort of roasted coffee, very much the roasted coffee bean, sort of like a cafe, so that's fine. Vanilla creme, not much in there, but fine. For me, the sugar brioche, I love a brioche, especially, make it sugary, that's fine. Really rich dough, a lot of butter in it. I like brioche, but to me, it always smelled kind of burnt. And I think it was the way that the roasted coffee balanced with the brioche. It just kind of, to me, Paris Café, overwhelming, which makes it feel almost a bit artificial. But that brioche, the in there just smells like burnt bread to me. And I think so those two just are imbalanced in the traditional Paris Café blend. I wish they would go back to Espresso Bar, which was in the Italian collection 2011 or 12. Did a review on that way back in the day when they launched it. Really cohesive collection, some really fun stuff, some beautiful blends in there in the Italian collection. And Espresso Bar was a really, really nice coffee fragrance that they launched once or twice and then hasn't seen the light of day for probably, again, 8 or 10 years. And Paris Café was not a good replacement for me for Espresso Bar. I'm excited to say though, in here, for me, I'm happy because they kind of took out what I didn't like about it and replaced it with some of the cinnamon spice vanilla, the cinnamon sugar donut notes, and it works very well together. So sniffing this, you cannot ignore the base of the roasted coffee. That is very much there. And I'd say even the sugared brioche, but it's almost like a burnt sugar brioche. So it's not just like they put some sugar on fresh cut, buttered brioche, but it's almost as if it is some dark, crisp caramelized sugar, almost like you'd have on top of a creme brulee on that brioche. And in fact, I'd almost say, with that vanilla creme, the Paris Café to me is almost like if you were to have a coffee flavored creme brulee, that is actually what Paris Café reminds me of. because with the vanilla creme, which I think is showing up a little bit more here than I typically get from the Paris Café candle, though again, I've never purchased or burned it. That sugared brioche, again, I'm not really getting it as bread. It's more so I'm getting caramelized sugar. The vanilla creme could be like the creme that you get in creme brulee. And then if you had, again, a coffee or espresso flavoring in the creme part of the creme brulee, that is really, I think, what Paris Café reminds me of the more I think about it. And so that balanced with the cinnamon, the sugar crystals, the vanilla bean, and let's face it, sort of the gourmand bakery donut note, like a cake donut that you get from the cinnamon spice vanilla, it works really well. I will say the coffee is always through it. It's very much the strong base in this, but it doesn't overpower. It's still very strong, but it doesn't overpower the way that Paris Café candle does. And I love the softness, a bit of that sweetness that comes from the cinnamon spice vanilla, because the sugared brioche, though it's in there, vanilla creme, you would think are sweet. Paris Café doesn't lean really sweet or soft at all in my mind, whereas the cinnamon spice vanilla is always that soft, fluffy sort of feeling when it comes to the cinnamon and the sugar and the vanilla with, of course, that cake donut base. I really like this one a lot. I think that's a wonderful blend. I almost wish they would just keep this as a core collection. Still keep the cinnamon spice vanilla because I love the non-coffee version of that. But to me, this is better than Paris Café on its own. And then the final blend, was also excited to see this, which is pineapple mango and fresh balsam. Sounds perhaps the strangest one in the sense that fresh balsam is very much a holiday winter candle, though of course balsam is an evergreen, and there are parts of the world where it is year round and you can smell it. It's not just, relegated to December or holidays. But pineapple mango is a tropical candle. You're getting, pineapple, mango, some fruits in there. So I think at first glance it sounds the most strange, but it actually, in my mind, works incredibly well. And I appreciate that they did something that wouldn't be maybe necessarily an immediate seller, because people are like, what am I doing pineapple with? I don't want pineapple at Christmas. Give it a chance. So the notes on these two on their own, again, pineapple mango is usually fresh pineapple juice, mango, and vine ripened raspberry, which I don't really get that in that, but okay. And then fresh balsam, that's, an old Slack & Co classic from, 2009, 2008. The notes have varied over the years, but the scent has remained the same. Woodland balsam, eucalyptus, fir branches, cedarwood. That's generally what you're gonna get with that. It is that whoosh fragrance. It is the most fresh, sort of outdoor version of a balsam that you can really find, certainly at Bath & Body Works. And notes they have woodland balsam, fir branches, fresh pineapple juice, and mango. It is so nicely balanced. To me, it does not have the eucalyptus of fresh balsam because it doesn't do that whoosh. So for me, it's always very that it's like that winter air, really astringent eucalyptus with that kind of resinous balsam that is also a cooling scent. The cooling factor is kind of taken out of here, and just sort of the resinous pine side of it with the fir and the balsam are there. And then the pineapple, mango, not so much, but the pineapple, certainly, that pineapple juice, like the acidity of the sweetness, but also the acidity and really the tang that comes with pineapples are very present in this, but it works surprisingly well. It doesn't seem like an odd push and pull between something that's supposed to be more tropical versus something that leans more, cool weather with like the balsam. What's interesting is pineapple has no relation to any trees from the pine family, but mango actually is kind of distantly related in the sense that mangoes do almost have sort of a mild evergreen or pine scent and flavor to them, which you might not think it, but next time you eat one, and you think about it, you'll realize it. It's just, I think you think, oh, tropical, you don't think of pine, but it really does have that sort of pine profile to part of the mango flavor. And there are also some compounds that are found in mango pulp that are in pine needles. So in that sense, the mango actually works maybe more with the balsam than the pineapple would. I'm not sure what the one struggle with this scent is. I'm not sure what the vibe is, because typically most people only want to burn pine or balsams or evergreen scents more in the cooler winter months. I don't mind it. Like, there was a forest trail candle that was a failed test scent in 2012 or 13 at Bath & Body Works it was like a lakeside. So you're in the Pacific Northwest on like an Adirondack chair. You have, cedar around you, maybe some redwoods, you have balsam, you have some woodland berries, some currants around you. And it was just you could smell balsam, but it read lake, it read outdoors versus holiday, and not a wintry outdoors. And so balsam, certainly I'm cool with that being a year-round scent. But this one, I don't know when I'd want to burn it. Right now, I guess. It doesn't really have a specific identity, which is why this probably wouldn't work outside of the blends collection, whereas, Rosewater, Ivy, Mahogany, Teakwood could very much just be a conceptual blend that works almost like a parfum. I really like this. It smells really good. Pineapple mango is too drippingly sweet and cloying for me typically, so mixing it with the balsam really adds, again, it just brings the depth to it. And that's, I think, with this collection in general, is they are blended, but they're also balanced well. It's like, candles that are more primarily top note heavy, like your pineapple mango, maybe even like your rosewater and ivy, and candles that typically have more of like the base note world, so fresh balsam like your woods and your mahogany teakwood, and even your Paris Café with that rich roasted coffee, the depth. It's really almost like they're making a more balanced candle with these blends, because you're throwing in a heavy top note candle, a heavy bottom note candle, and all of a sudden you have a more balanced fragrance. So really interesting. I'm impressed with them. I enjoy them. I think it's a smart move. Certainly something that fragrance fans, I think, will dig into. So highly recommend checking it out before they go away, since they are a semi-annual sale kind of exclusive. Let me know what you think. If you enjoy them, what you like, don't like about them. Would love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, take care.